Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the material you send us, dig into it, and pull out the most fascinating bits. Kind of a shortcut, so you get informed without the textbook headache.
Exactly. And today, we're tackling a collection you shared. It was labeled Unearthing the Oddities, the Curiosities Surrounding American Presidents.
That's it. We're not doing this standard history lesson today. We're looking for the weird stuff, the stories that make you go, wait, what? The things usually left out. Should be some surprises.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's kick off with a pretty unexpected opinion from way back. Seems the bald eagle wasn't a universal favorite.
No, apparently not. Benjamin Franklin, according to these sources, he actually thought the turkey would be a better fit for the national bird.
The turkey, seriously.
Seriously. And his reasoning is interesting. He argued it was, authentically American, native to the continent, useful, and just more connected to the country's early days than the eagle.
Huh. It does make you think, doesn't it? About how symbols get chosen, what they represent.
Right. What qualities they were looking for back then. You just assume the eagle was, the obvious choice.
Yeah, you do. But Franklin saw something else in the turkey. Okay, well, speaking of unexpected qualities, let's talk toughness. Theodore Roosevelt.
Ah, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The 1912 incident, shot during a campaign speech.
And he just kept going for, 84 minutes with a bullet in his chest?
84 minutes. It's just incredible willpower. Hard to imagine that happening today, really.
And the detail about what slowed the bullet, his folded speech, 50 pages of it, and his glasses case.
Yeah. Talk about lucky, or maybe just well prepared.
Right. And then his quote afterwards.
Oh, yeah, the famous one. It takes more than that to kill a bull moose. Classic TR. Really sums up that image of presidential strength, doesn't it?
It really does. That sort of near invincible leader idea. These stories must contribute to that expectation we still have.
I think so. Okay, so from near-death experiences to some pretty unique personal habits. John Quincy Adams.
Oh, this one's a bit out there. Daily skinny dipping.
Apparently so.
Mm-hmm.
In the Potomac River. Every morning before sunrise.
Even in winter.
Sources say yes, regardless of the season. It suggests a certain intensity, discipline, maybe eccentricity.
Or all of the above. Makes you think about the private routines of powerful people.
And then there's that story about the journalist.
Oh, right. The woman who supposedly sat on his clothes while he was swimming to force an interview.
That's the one. The source called it a naked presidential press conference.
Wild. The audacity. It really blurs the lines, public versus private life, even back then.
It does. What lengths people would go to for access. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Lincoln, his appearance.
Right. He was famously tall, lanky, very distinctive look. And the sources mention Marfan syndrome.
Yeah, they speculated it could be linked. Marfan affects connective tissue, which can lead to that tall frame, the long limbs, long fingers.
So it wasn't just that he was tall, it might have been a specific condition.
Possibly. And, the sad part is the source mentions that Marfan can sometimes cause heart problems. So there's this historical speculation that, even without the assassination,
his life might have been cut short anyway.
it's a possibility they raise. Just a sobering thought, really. Adds another layer to him.
Definitely does. Okay, from health issues, let's talk about ingenuity. Thomas Jefferson. More than just a statesman.
Oh, absolutely. A real inventor. His workshop was apparently buzzing with ideas.
And the source highlights a couple of things.
Yes. The letter copying machine he developed. Imagine making duplicates easily back then. A big deal for communication.
Like an early photocopier almost.
Sort of, yeah. And also an improved plow design, which, helped farmers, boosted production. Shows the breadth of his mind, really. Practical stuff.
Yeah, easy to forget they had these other skills and interests. And speaking of unexpected skills, Abraham Lincoln, the wrestler.
Huh? Yes, that's quite the image, isn't it? Before the presidency, apparently a very accomplished wrestler.
And the record was something crazy.
Supposedly around 300 matches, and he only lost one.
300. That's amazing. Such a contrast to sort of solemn, thoughtful image we usually see.
It really is. Shows the different paths people took to get to the White House. Okay, now, presidential pets. This is where it gets properly weird.
All right, I'm ready. John Quincy Adams again.
Yep. Apparently kept an alligator in a White House bathtub.
An alligator? As a pet?
It was a gift.
Right.
From the Marquis de Lafayette, no less.
A gift alligator. Okay. And guests, how did they react?
Source says they were reportedly terrified. Can't blame them, really.
No kidding. An alligator in the East Wing bathroom? Wow. And then Van Buren.
Martin Van Buren, yes.
Yeah.
He received 2 tiger cubs.
Tiger cubs? From who?
The Sultan of Oman. Quite the diplomatic gift.
I'll say. So tigers roaming the White House.
Well, not exactly. Congress actually stepped in, passed a law forcing him to donate them to a zoo.
Congress legislated against the president's pets.
Seems so. And apparently Van Buren fought it for a while, arguing they were his personal property. He lost, though. The tigers went to the zoo.
That's incredible. A constitutional debate over tiger cubs. Okay, moving from exotic pets to maybe just eccentric hobbies. Herbert Hoover.
Ah, Hoover ball. His own invention.
What even was Hoover ball?
Sort of a mix, like volleyball, tennis, but with a medicine ball. A heavy one, 6 pounds.
A 6-pound medicine ball. Ouch.
Yeah, and played over an 8-foot net. Sounds pretty demanding.
And he made his cabinet play.
Reportedly, yes.
Yeah.
Mandatory 7 a.m. games on weekdays. Seems like participation might have been good for your career in his administration.
Talk about pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Lyndon Johnson, LBJ. His meeting style was unique.
That's one way to put it. The stories about him holding meetings in the bathroom, often with the door open.
Seriously, wow. That's bold.
Definitely memorable. And then there was his car.
The amphibious one.
That's it. His Cadillac that could drive into water. He apparently liked to prank guests at his ranch.
Ow.
He'd pretend the brakes failed as he drove towards the lake, then just drive right in.
Oh my goodness, that sounds terrifying. And very LBJ.
Exactly. Larger than life. Okay, maybe shifting to more somber gear. Bizarre deaths and near misses. Zachary Taylor.
Right, died suddenly after eating cherries and milk on a hot day, July 4th.
That's the story. Initial diagnosis was cholera morbus, kind of a general term back then.
But there were suspicions, right? Poisoning.
There were. Enough that his body was actually exhumed much later in 1991. They tested for arsenic. Negative. So the cause of death is still technically a bit of a mystery. Shows how even established facts can be murky.
Huh. And William Henry Harrison, the shortest presidency.
Yeah. Died just a month into office. The classic story is pneumonia from giving that super long inaugural address in the freezing rain without a coat or hat.
Trying to look tough, maybe.
Perhaps. But the source also mentions a more recent theory. Typhoid fever. Contaminated water in the White House, essentially. It highlights how historical understanding can change, you know?
Right. New evidence, new theories. And James Garfield. Tragic story.
Very. He survived the actual shooting initially, but the medical care.
Yeah, the hygiene standards weren't great back then, were they? Infection set in?
Exactly. It was the infection that killed him, not the bullet directly. And the irony of Alexander Graham Bell.
Oh, with the metal detector.
Yeah, Bill tried to use his new invention, an early metal detector, to find the bullet, but it didn't work.
Why not?
Because of the metal bed springs Garfield was lying on. They interfered with the device. Just awful luck.
Cruel irony, really. Okay, let's lighten it up slightly. Lesser-known facts, little bits of trivia.
Right, the historical footnotes, like John Quincy Adams, again, first president inaugurated wearing long trousers.
Trousers instead of knee breeches. A fashion first.
Apparently so. A tiny detail, but it shows changing times. And only 7 presidents have been left-handed.
Only 7. Huh. Like Obama, Bill Clinton.
Those are 2 recent ones, yeah. Just an odd statistic.
And Grover Cleveland, only president to actually get married in the White House.
That's his unique claim to fame. A White House wedding.
Adds a bit of romance. And the Hoovers speaking Mandarin.
Herbert and Lou Henry Hoover, yes.
Yeah.
They apparently used Mandarin for private conversations in the White House.
Wow. Imagine the privacy that gave them. Nobody else could understand.
Exactly. Maybe useful. And finally, just confirming, William Henry Harrison was exhumed, but nope, not poisoned.
Good to clear that up. Okay, now for the really uncanny stuff. Superstitions, coincidences, Lincoln's dream.
Oh, that's incredibly eerie. Just days before he was assassinated, he reportedly had this vivid dream.
What did he dream?
He described seeing his own body in a casket in the East Room of the White House. Mourners all around. He asked the guard who died, and the guard supposedly said, the president.
Chilling. Absolutely chilling. Like a premonition.
It really feels like it. And then there's the curse of Tippecanoe, or the 0-year curse.
Right. This is that pattern, isn't it? Presidents elected in a year, ending in 0.
Dying in office. It started with William Henry Harrison, elected 1840, then Lincoln, 1860, Garfield, 1880, McKinley, 1900.
Harding, 1920, FDR, 1940, Kennedy, 1960. It's a lot.
It's really striking pattern. Hard to just brush off as pure coincidence, though statistically maybe it is.
Until Reagan, right, elected in 1980.
Exactly. Ronald Reagan survived the assassination attempt in 1981 and completed his terms. He broke the supposed curse, which almost makes the pattern before him seem even stranger.
It really does. Wow. So all these stories, these odd habits, strange fates, they do something, don't they?
They really do. They humanize these figures.
Mm-hmm.
The sources suggest that, despite the power, the status,
Yeah.
they were people with quirks, flaws, vulnerabilities.
Absolutely. Just as eccentric maybe as anyone else, behind the monuments and the official histories.
Real people living through sometimes very strange circumstances.
Yeah. And you just know there've got to be more stories like these out there, right? Hidden away.
Oh, I'm sure. History's full of weird corners.
So maybe something for you listening to think about. Out of all these strange presidential facts we dug up today, which one genuinely surprised you the most?
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other unexpected twists and turns are hiding in history, just waiting for another deep dive?